Welcome to the $100 MBA Show, and today is a Q&A weekend episode where we answer your questions right here on the show. If you have a question, you can email us at contact@100mba.net, and we'll answer it right here on the Q&A weekend episodes. You can also record your question, your voice, and we'll play it right here on the show. You can do that using our Speak It option on the show page at 100mba.net/show. As always, I'm your host, Omar Zenhom. I'm also the co-founder of the $100 MBA, a complete business training and community online. And today's question comes from Cindy. Cindy asks, my restaurant is a year old and it's struggling. It's in a great location, but my overhead is huge. Do you have any advice? Thank you so much. Love the show. Thanks for the question, Cindy, and for listening to the $100 MBA Show. First of all, my heart goes out to you. It's never easy when your business is struggling, but there's always a solution. There's always a resolution to any of the struggles you're having. So let's get into it right now. All right, I don't know exactly what your situation is, exactly how much your overhead is, what your actual cafe or restaurant does, but physical businesses can be broken based on their overhead. Overhead can really crush a business, especially when it's a physical business, because physical businesses tend to have higher overhead than online businesses. It doesn't mean they can't be profitable. A lot of physical businesses are extremely profitable. But let's take a look at the reality of your situation. You've owned the restaurant for 1 year. It's in a great location. So foot traffic and getting customers in the door, if you can offer them something they want, should not be an issue. You're having an issue with overhead. So anytime you're struggling with any kind of business, there are 3 things you need to look at. And those 3 things are the what, the how, and the where. What stands for what are you offering your customers? What value are you offering them? Are you actually giving them something that they want? This is not a question for you to answer. This is a question that your customers can answer. Because you really genuinely can think that, this is something that people want. I want it. Why wouldn't anybody else want it? The how is, how are you delivering your actual value? How are you actually delivering it? Depending on your area or location, people are used to being treated, or their value, their experience at the restaurant, it needs to be delivered in a certain way. If you're in a college town, you have a lot of college students, maybe a sit-down restaurant that's fancy is not really something they want. They want something that is takeaway, something they can eat on benches, something that's fun, maybe something that has, a pinball table or a table tennis table. If you're in an affluent area with a median age of 45, then they're going to want some tablecloths on their table. So how you deliver your value has a lot to do with your success in a physical business. And lastly, where are you spending your money? How are you actually providing that value? You got to take a look at your expenses. You said your overhead is through the roof, it's very high. Are there any ways for you to cut down your overhead? Maybe you're spending money on things that really you don't need. Maybe you don't need somebody checking coats. Maybe you don't need a valet service outside your door. Maybe people are very happy to park their own cars. Take a look at your expenses. Usually with restaurants, salaries are a huge expense. Are you overstaffed? Who's getting paid the most? Is it the chef? Is it the restaurant manager? Is it justified? I'm asking a rhetorical question. It could be justified, but you need to make sure it is, because every dollar that comes out is a dollar that you're not going to be able to earn. So take a look at your what, how, and where, so you can minimize as much damage as possible. I want to say something right now, and I don't want to discourage you, because I really think that you seem like a very ambitious entrepreneur. But you also need to make sure in any business you go into, you have the option on the table that says, maybe I need to get out of this business. Maybe this business is not worth the trouble that I'm going through. And that goes for even me. If I am starting a business and I see things that are not going well, if I launch a product and I feel like maybe this is worth more trouble than it's worth, I need to close it down. And we've done that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making a decision, hey, I'm going to cut my losses because it's an open wound that doesn't want to heal. So maybe your restaurant's in a great location, but maybe if you relocated to a little bit less of a location where your rent will be half as much, you can make it happen. Or maybe the location's great, but you got a really fancy chef that requires a high salary, and maybe your crowd doesn't really appreciate that level of cuisine. Maybe a chef with a little bit less experience or a little bit less expertise can create great dishes that everybody loves. I'm not saying go cheap. Make sure your quality is very, very good. But sometimes in the ambition of making a great restaurant or a great business, we want top grade class of everything when the customer doesn't really require that grade. The customer's happy with a lower grade if they're going to pay a little bit less or the experience makes up for it. If you're in the service industry like a restaurant, I really, really highly recommend you invest your efforts, your time, your training into the experience, the service. It's really hard not to go back to a restaurant that's really, really good when it comes to service. The experience is great and the food is decent, I'm coming back. And most people are the same way. But if the food is fantastic and the service is so-so, there's a good chance I'm not going to go back. Because I probably paid a pretty good penny for that food, but it doesn't make it worth my money or my time if I feel like the service is not exceptional. So Cindy, I hope that helps you. I hope that answers your question. I don't have all the details, but I try to cover as much as I can given what I know. I wish you the best of luck with your restaurant, with your business. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to try new things. You said you're struggling, and sometimes struggling is a good place to be because you can experiment. You could try new things, and you really don't have much to lose because you're struggling, right? And maybe after listening to everything I said, you said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hang on. And maybe it just needs a little bit more time to pick up. And if you decide to pivot, decide to move on to a different business or a different location or a different restaurant, that's completely fine. Great entrepreneurs know when to pivot. All right, Cindy, thanks again for asking your question and listening to the $100 MBA Show. Guys, if you have 2 minutes at the end of this episode, we would love for you to drop us an iTunes rating and review. By giving us an iTunes rating and review, you help us get more exposure on iTunes and reach more people like you who are looking to build a business, improve their business skills. So your support is really appreciated, and you can learn how to do this, how to give us an iTunes rating and review at 100mba.net/show. Also, everybody who gives us an iTunes rating and review enters our weekly draw to win a free ride to the $100 MBA Training and Community. So every Friday, we announce a winner. It could be you, but you can't win if you don't leave us an iTunes rating and review. So go ahead and do that for us. Thanks. Guys, I want to leave you with this. Every great entrepreneur has to go through some struggles. There's no such thing as an overnight success. It's years in the making. So if you have a business like Cindy's that's struggling a little bit right now, know that this is your rite of passage. You have to go through these struggles so you can learn, so you can grow, so you can become a better entrepreneur. I personally have gone through them many, many times, more than I want to talk about. But I've learned some really hard, good lessons through them. At the end of the day, the goal isn't the business itself. The goal is to be a great entrepreneur, to be an independent person, to be able to do the things you want to do, the way you want to do them. So if one business doesn't work out and another one does, it's all a means to an end that you want. So make sure you keep your eye on the prize, meaning that you keep focus and know that it's not a single business. It's not a single venture. It's not a single way. You can change the way you actually manifest a business and get to where you want to go. All right, guys, I'll check you in the next episode. Take care.